Okay, share screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. We can see it now.
All right. You can see me now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. I think Shelly and I and the board, on behalf of all of us, we are certainly honored that 100 plus of you would take time in your day to meet with us. And I do want to encourage all of you there. This is there's a lot going on in our world, and so truly there's a lot to be grateful for. So my name is Marla Cholich. I'm with Marcus and Millichap, the Williams Storage Group. I am on the board of the Missouri Self-Storage Owners Association. Additionally, I am a commercial real estate agent. I specialize specifically and exclusively in the storage asset class. By way of introduction, my business partner is in Memphis, Tennessee, and between the two of us, we cover the Midwest and Southeast, representing storage owners and investors in the storage asset class. So the title today that I want to present to all of you is Storage in the Time of COVID. And what does this look like in our business? What are we going to review today? What, from a global perspective, did the storage industry look like prior to COVID? And really, in our state, I think we would all agree that really it was about the middle of March that the stay-at-home order started, both statewide and toward the end of March, in local municipalities. So we've been in this situation for roughly a month. What did this look like prior to COVID-19? What did our storage industry look like prior to this time? What has happened in the past month since COVID-19, specifically in the storage industry? And how does this impact us? Those are the points I would like to review with all of you today. So let's take a step back. What was happening in our industry, both nationally, really nationally speaking, and locally in our industry prior to COVID-19? We saw a greater influx of technology. Certainly over the past few years, storage facilities have become more and more automated. We've seen storage owners in even small communities and tertiary markets really taking advantage of opportunities made available through technology, automating move-ins, automating every single part of our business. So these things were happening prior to this event, prior to March. We saw, kind of on a national basis, a leveling of rent. As you all know, we've seen steady rent increases over the past 10 years. Over the past 12 months, we were seeing, from a global perspective, nationally, a leveling of rents brought on by new construction. That was part of it. We've also seen the trend has been slowing down of new construction. We saw that was most likely going to happen. Still a lot of construction in the marketplace, but we saw that it was slowing down. Demographically, what was happening? Baby boomers who were downsizing from their homes, were nationally speaking downsizing, looking for storage, not necessarily ready to throw away all of their treasures. Millennials, on the other side of the demographic spectrum, trend-wise have been slower to accumulate homes and have been living in apartments or rental homes, the trend has been. and they've also enjoyed storage. So we've had those two dynamics going in our favor as an asset class up to this point. From a cap rate perspective, in 2019, average cap rates for storage were 470 basis points above the 10-year Treasury average, making debt options attractive in both the CMBS market and traditional financing. So, you know, life was really good in storage. So this is what's happened up to this point. To continue on with this thought process, and I think this might be helpful for a lot of you, those of us who owned real estate of any kind, especially investment real estate, whether it's storage or residential, other asset classes, those of us who owned real estate prior to the last recession and during that time, we remember that. I think this graph may be helpful for some of you. I know some of you may have called in, so I'm going to read through this. Pre-recession, 2007, unemployment was at 5%. Let's compare and contrast that with pre-coronavirus 2019. Unemployment was 3.5%, 3.5% just a few weeks ago in this country. U.S. storage construction. Pre-recession 2007 was about hovering around 3% of inventory was construction that was occurring during that time. Pre-coronavirus 2019, again, some metrics I've read for the prepared for this said 67 million, so 65 to 67 million square feet of inventory over the past 12 months in 2019, new construction. The U.S. vacancy rate hovering around 15%, 2007. Compare and contrast that with 2019. We had a vacancy rate of about 9 to 10%. So this kind of gives you guys more of a global perspective from every angle what the storage industry was looking like prior to the past month or so. Cap rates. Being in the brokerage business, I'm very, very, very intimately familiar with this, live and breathe this. But let's go back to 2001 on this graph. For those of you who are on the phone, I'm going to talk you through this. Average cap rates for storage were really at around 10%. They were dropping until we reached 2007, hovering around 7% cap rate. And of course, during the recession, cap rates experienced a bit of a boost as the economy was slowing. After we pulled out of the recession, cap rates were slowing down a bit, and quite a bit. And even in Missouri over the past year, we have seen cap rates at around 6-7%. So again, 470 basis points from the 10-year Treasury. Okay, so really kind of thumbnail sketches, globally speaking, what was happening in our industry prior to storage. I wanted to set the stage for my next point, which is where have we been since this has occurred? Okay, those of you in college towns in Missouri, I don't need to tell you this. 20 million college students nationwide, and those kids were supposed to come home in May. They packed their stuff up 6 weeks ago. So that has delivered a bit of a boost to the storage business. Storage REITs that specialize in self-storage only fell approximately 11% from the beginning of 2020 through the middle of April compared to the Dow Jones over the same period that fell almost at 17%. By comparison, our brethren in the hotel asset class, commercial real estate, brothers and sisters in the hotel business, they suffered almost 54% during the same period. So yes, we see in commercial real estate in general, there is certainly some volatility going on. Those are some facts. Developers, as I mentioned in my last slides, there has been an enormous amount of development, although we saw the trend for that to slow. Over the past few months, developers had storage properties under construction or in the planning stages had totaled 9% of existing stock in the US, according to Yardi. And what we're seeing with that is on that point, we're seeing that since this time, a lot of the governmental offices that need to be open for approvals, some of which are not open. So my point on that is we're going to see continued sliding. That is the trend that we are looking to see. Meanwhile, while we may be at a net zero or a leveling with storage, we see retail is at 70 to 80% requesting abatement. Anybody who touches retail, we know this. A third of apartment rents were late in April versus the typical 15% of slowing of late payments in typical times. At this time, from what we can tell, and I certainly, from a boots on the ground perspective, are listening to storage owners, some of you on this call, and what you're telling me is you're kind of holding steady. From a statewide perspective, we sense that we're holding steady at this time. Another trend that we may be seeing is unemployed workers maybe needing to consolidate households. So we're seeing that we may be seeing a slight over the next few months uptick in storage for those reasons. How does COVID-19 impact us right now? Well, storage is the ultimate social distancing business. Of course, we're essential. We are in the state of Missouri. We are in many states. So we have that in our favor. And I just mentioned the continued automation that we're seeing is allowing us to be even more distance going forward. So that's a win. That's a positive for this business. We see that net operating income may flatten as rents suppress and customers without jobs may be more prone to price sensitivity. Additionally, we also see that the suggestion has been to work with late tenants as much as possible in the event of lien units. So tenants that are late or in lien, suggestions are to work with them as much as possible while they're out of a job and we're getting through this period of time. Debt from an acquisition perspective. CMBS money tied to the markets is really gone for now. Many of you have purchased storage facilities or are looking to purchase storage facilities through SBA. That may be picking up shortly. For right now, it's slowed down while the SBA is working on payroll protection loans. Traditional lending, especially local lending, continues, although local lenders are starting to really tighten up on, they're being more conservative in their lending, as they also are walking forward in the future not knowing what to expect. Couple of items that are going on that I think all of us need to be aware of and part of is the IRS, as many of you know, has extended deadline for exchanges. So if you are an exchange at the moment, the deadline is July 15th. That gives owners time to really do due diligence while they are in the middle of purchasing a property. On that note, from the acquisition perspective, the time it takes to get to a closing because of force majeure, which is means act of God, and it's in a legal context on many contracts that we're seeing, and the necessity to go to properties for due diligence, for site inspections, all of it is slowed as investors simply are having travel time takes longer, and it's simply harder to get third-party reports. So it's taking longer for acquisitions to occur. So from the acquisition perspective, we're seeing that while there's still definitely an interest in storage, there is definitely a delay and a slowing in bringing the buyers and the sellers to the closing table. As I mentioned, boots on the ground in the state of Missouri, in the Southeast, there's still certainly investor interest in storage. Why? If you own a strip mall right now or a restaurant and you really want to put your money somewhere, or you're in an exchange and maybe you were looking at that strip mall, boy, storage sure looks real good right now. So while we are most likely not going to experience this year the same kind of growth we have in the past, we're stabilized. And what we're hearing so far in this state is we continue to be stabilized. The low interest rates that we're experiencing right now are helping to keep cap rates low for right now. So from acquisition perspective, that continues to be what we see. Some of my closing thoughts on the storage industry since COVID-19, I really have more to do philosophically than with storage, I suppose. The fundamentals of storage are exactly the same, you guys. The business is, although it sometimes is not necessarily easy, it's a simple business. There's still a need for our business, and it's an essential business. It's a solid business. I do believe that although this is a time of uncertainty, our business will continue to be strong going forward. We are living in history-making times right now. As a mother with 3 children, I find myself realizing that this is their 9/11. This may be their Pearl Harbor. For all of us, whether we have children or grandchildren, we see that this time is going to be etched in our hearts forever. How we respond, respond in our communities to our managers is really important. And I think, you know, we are all here, every 100, however people are on this call, every single one of you are here because you've worked hard. No one tripped into storage one day and became a storage owner or became part of the storage industry. So the same character, hard work ethic, common sense, honesty. Let's use this together, treating others better than ourselves going forward. And quote from Abraham Lincoln, character is like a tree and a reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. I close with you all today. I'm honored to have the ability to speak with all of you. I wish you all success in your storage businesses, and grace and peace, and let not your heart be troubled. Shelley, I think my time's up.
Yeah, I am back here with you guys. Yes, so thank you, Marla. That is exactly what we needed to hear as far as our market in Missouri, the state, I guess, as we like to call it.